Anita, I know lots of people in the Atlanta area may have read in the Constitution or heard that the task force for the homeless building has been foreclosed on. Could you give us just an update of what's happening here?
Yes, thank you, Diane. The task force building, Peachtree Pine building, and it's known on the streets as the Pine or Peachtree Pine, has been foreclosed on. We have no legal documents. We've received no notices. We have no information about the purported new ownership of the task force facility. And so we are challenging that foreclosure, and on the basis that it was done as a part of this tortious interference and illegal pressure to get the building, to acquire the building by whatever means were available, legal or not. And to that end, we're asking all of our friends and supporters and people who care about homelessness and justice in this city, people who understand that folks who have never been elected to any office are controlling the policy and practice in the city, to join us here at the Pine, at Peachtree Pine, on Thursday, May 13th at 1 o'clock for a press event. And we'll be in communication with those folks. They can call us. We'll be emailing. We'll be sending notices out. We have notices on Facebook. We'll have notices all over the internet about the process as it unfolds, because it is unfolding now. And we have teams of legal resources who are challenging all of what's happened in the court system. And we are on the ground and in this building continuing to do what we do and have done for 15 years, and we will continue to do that, because the people who are here because they have nowhere else to go and are here in order to get someplace else. And this place is a lifeline to safety, to housing, to treatment, to jobs, to whatever people need. And as long as thousands of people every year come through here, and we documented 15,000 different people last year who came through here and then got on into the next step in their lives. As long as we're necessary as that first step, that lifeline, we'll stay here. So we have no plans to leave.
Anita, I know that one of the other things is that the task force is engaged in a lawsuit against business interests, the city of Atlanta, for illegal practices regarding fair housing. And could you perhaps give us just the tiniest little bit of information about that? Because
Sure.
I know that'll be part of what happens here on Thursday, but just a little bit of information.
Sure. We actually have two legal assertions out there. One is a federal lawsuit on a civil rights charge, which includes also a civil charge that the City of Atlanta, Central Atlanta Progress, the Atlanta Downtown Improvement District, all colluded to remove our funding, to interfere with our ability to operate. We are operating, but without any funding that we legally had and had acquired over the years of our good faith efforts. So we have that charge now is in federal court, because we believe there's a bottom basic reason that all of these attacks have come at us over the last 15 years, particularly since we got this building. And that is, we think we can prove that those forces do not intend to have homeless African American men on Peachtree Street or anywhere downtown where they can control the access to public space, private space as well. And the way they control that is by quickly privatizing public space and public services. So we think we can prove that in federal court, and at the same time we have an affirmative action against the city and CAP and the DID at HUD, an administrative complaint that was filed yesterday by a law firm in Washington, Relman and Dane, who have just won some absolutely incredibly important cases based on fair housing violations and certifications on the part of Westchester County, New York, and a Texas case that's being settled now that I believe involves Austin, Texas, and a number of other cases, civil rights cases, that this law firm in Washington has successfully brought. And they have now brought one in an administrative complaint to HUD against those entities as well. So we have that at least two-pronged legal work going on at the same time that we have to keep our work going right here. And this is an issue of incredible urgency to people in Atlanta, and also to anybody who's heard the lie that Atlanta's a city too busy to hate. We wish Dr. King were here. He would be with us, we believe. And many of his successors are with us and are going to be with us. But we think this is an issue of justice and access and inclusion, because exclusion produces homelessness, and exclusion criminalizes people who are poor and homeless. I mean, we've got the Grady Hospital issue, we've got the Atlanta Housing Authority foreclosures, we've got 2,000 legal auctioned off homes happening last Tuesday as well. So we're in a situation where housing foreclosures, bank failures, which we don't particularly care much about, but we care what the banks have done to the people who cannot shop around for the best possible option in their housing. So we're sort of the tip of the iceberg, and the iceberg is everything that's going on in Atlanta in the last 50 years, actually. But we have the evidence, we think, to prove it.
I want to say that the International Action Center has long admired and respected the work of the task force, and I think the reason is because you are not only a service provider in the sense of helping people get housing and helping people get medical care and job training and all of that, but that your advocacy recognizes that homeless people are people with rights, that who did not cause the condition they're in, that it's a system that puts a price on every commodity, whether it's housing or medical care or whatever, that has generated a whole so-called surplus population.
Yes.
And so because the task force has an understanding of the source of poverty and homelessness, we have long been your allies, and we appreciate you so much doing this interview today.
Well, I want to say thank you, Diane, and thank you to you personally, to everybody involved with the International Action Center, to the history of the International Action Center, to its origin. All of that is so important to us politically, and to our lives of integrity in this work, because you're absolutely right. I mean, exclusion, commodifying housing, healthcare, education. We live in an economic system that commodifies everything that we need, necessary life supports, and ignores the issue of human and civil rights. And so housing to us is a human right as well as a civil right. Access is a human right as well as a civil right. So, and the people who live here are running this place. I get to help because I'm here and I'm old, but the people who live here are running this place, and there are many people who don't live here who volunteer their time 24 hours a day to keep this place running and to keep it doing what it does. But we think the integration of the service system and the supports there with the advocacy and activist community is absolutely necessary for us to speak with any kind of authenticity into these issues.
Anita, maybe you could talk a little bit about some of the other things that are available here at the task force, such as the art gallery and the photography studio and some of those other elements that go to the creativity and the total person of someone who happens to be homeless.
Well, one of the most important things that ever happened here since I've been around is having met Boubacar Sarr, who was a homeless man who came into this facility, is now a U.S. citizen, but came here from Senegal, was in the Army, got his education here, and had an illness and lost everything and came here. And what he said and has said on our video, which we put on our webpage, is what he needed most was peace of mind. And then he went into our darkroom, part of our photography program, and he said, I think he said there he saw beautiful things being created, and he learned he could make beautiful things. And he began to heal physically, emotionally, and spiritually, and became part of this community and wound up teaching photography to other people in that project. That story, to me, is why we're here. And we have an art studio that's done the same thing. We have a garden on the roof that hadn't been planted yet, but last year we were growing squash and cantaloupe and all kind of things. And we have a plan to actually formalize all these creative efforts into a real community that includes permanent housing right here on this footprint. And now that we have no money, we might as well take ourselves off the grid because that's our value as well. So the plan for this facility is to include retail operated by residents and others, creative opportunities operated by residents and others, so that we're really all together and there's no identity based on experience or circumstance. None. We don't have those people here. We have us here. You know, this is not a place where, oh, there are those homeless people. This is a community, and we want to live into that vision as we also declare our intentions in this space at this time.
Anita, do you want to give us any other ideas about or knowledge about what after this Thursday is going to happen with the press event?
Yeah.
What you're asking people to do?
We're asking people to join us and show their support and solidarity with us by being here as a visual image to live out that lifeline, which, by the way, Dianne coined, and to make a real lifeline around the building, including a rope that we'll all carry, and be here with us. Then after Thursday, we want to make sure that all the progressive community and our friends who may or may not identify as progressive or whatever, we don't care, our friends and supporters get it about what's going on here, get to talk to the people, get to hear exactly what's happened to us in this attack on us legally here, what our defense has to be, and how we need to turn public opinion toward the people who've been so abused and criminalized. We don't have criminals here. We don't have crime on this block. We have people who've been marginalized and described that way, but it isn't the reality. And so as we go through this process, should there ever be an eviction notice in the process, we want bodies here. We want resistance here. This is a place of pro-action, and it can be a place of resistance as well, because that's part of pro-action, just to know where your body has to be in that process. So we need people to be here at specified times and places, and to be in our network, our Facebook network, our internet, your Facebook network, everybody's Facebook networks, to get that news that when there's an action, we need to blast it out and say, be here at 9 o'clock, because they've come with the marshals. I mean, we're really aware that these people are not necessarily honorable people, the people who are pressing us so hard to get this building. They have said they'll get it one way or another. And so we're really aware that they may come in the middle of the night and terrify the folks who are here. That happens. And we know that there are records of that having happened in other cities. So we want a presence here, not just of the residents and some of us who work here, but of people who are willing to be, you know, a 24/7 presence with us, to kind of figuratively and literally encircle this building with a big community hug.
Anita, so we're doing this video now, and we're going to put it up on Facebook. Perhaps you could give us some other ideas about how people can help who are going to see this video, how they can help the task force surmount this issue.
Well, I'm learning from you how to use social media, and what we want to do is ask anybody who sees the video to send it to 100 people and ask them to send it out. We want this to be hot. It'll be on Facebook, it'll be on YouTube. The task force has a Facebook page now, Task Force for the Homeless Facebook page. So please go on our Facebook page and be a fan or a supporter or whatever, and you'll get these alerts automatically. Also, we have a web page, and our web page allows people to make donations, which we love and will accept delightedly. And also the webpage has good information about the services we provide here, and has access to other videos that are kind of descriptive of what we do. But for urgency, we need folks to check Facebook, yours, ours, theirs, and spread this message in whatever ways they can.
And what's your website address?
It's taskforceforthehomeless.org.
Terrific.
Yeah.
So I'll encourage absolutely every person who has seen this video today, who's moved by this struggle for justice for homeless people in Atlanta, to do exactly that, to send this video to your friends, to make a financial contribution of however much money you can, and to be here. If you live in the Atlanta area, to be here Thursday, May 13th, 1 o'clock, at the corner of Peachtree and Pine, the Task Force for the Homeless building. We'll see you then.
Can I say one more quick thing? Okay. Somebody said today, and it was a person who lives here, how can you foreclose on homeless people? That's the question. How can anybody foreclose on homeless people? The people who've been evicted from an apartment complex we saw in the news last night, 180 some odd people who are homeless, they're going to come here. People who are evicted come here every day. People who are released from hospitals come here every day, very fragile, in need of water and a place to sit down. So how can you evict the people who've already been evicted?